Welcome to Your Vote, the St. Joseph News Press Now's coverage of the upcoming municipal election. I'm Quinn Ritzdorf, the local government reporter, and we are continuing our Q&A series with the District 4 candidates, and with us is Russell Moore. Russell, thanks for doing this.
You bet.
We'll jump right into the questions. First one, in District 4, there are a decent amount of vacant businesses,
Right.
especially along South Belt. How would you bring those vacant businesses back on the tax roll?
They're already on, several of them are already on the tax roll. They were just vacant, but the property owners are paying their taxes. If they weren't paying their taxes, they'd be on the county's up for taxes. Yeah, the county sale. The South Belt, old South Belt Kmart, is one of those businesses that has been vacant for a very long time. I've had a wish list, but the city just can't take over property. People own those pieces of property, and if they're paying their taxes, we can't take them from them. I wish there was some creative way to address this, but I know he's been offered to sell the property. Yeah. He won't do it. And I think this guy lives in New Jersey. He's not an in-towner, he's an out-towner. So that leaves a blight assessment. And I have spoken with the city attorney about that. Seems like it takes $15,000 to $20,000 per piece of property, per address, for a blight assessment. Now, that's not the case with Belton Mitchell. That can all be inclusive. Even though they have separate addresses, they all fall under one primary address. Yeah. And so we could do a blight assessment, but the problem with the blight assessment is it could put the city on the hook for actually purchasing the property if it comes back that the blight assessment is actually upheld. And if the city is on the hook to buy it, it has to go before court to determine what the value of the property is. Yeah. And then there is a mechanism whereby the taxpayers wouldn't be out any money because we could sell it back to a developer as soon as it is brought back to life, so to speak. Yeah.
Do you think anyone would want to develop those properties though? I think that's the big question.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I know for a fact that one individual made a substantial offer for the 36th Street and Mitchell property, the old Green Hills, yeah, and was turned down.
Obviously, a large portion of District 4 is East St. Joseph. A lot of room for development. It seems as St. Joseph, a lot of the population is moving to the east of St. Joseph. How would you develop kind of that area in East St. Joseph?
Well, there's a lot of area out there for commercial growth. I would like to see some business come to town. That would be manufacturing and industrial out in East Town Business Park. But there's a lot of surrounding vacant ground out there in that area too. Yeah. So I would love to see some more business relocated down there. And of course, but my vote would be to allow for that. Now, residential, we do have quite a bit of residential in that district, and we have been building up a few residential senior citizens. There's been a few, there's some that's had some restrictions on age and income, and I have to be for that. Some people think it takes away from the property values, but it doesn't.
With the district changes, District 4 now has a decent amount of the Midtown area. How would you help grow kind of the Midtown neighborhood?
Well, I think that what we need to do is take a look at some of the areas that has I think what we need to do is take a look at some of the areas that have alleyways. Let's start taking a look at the damage that's being created to our alleyways by the heavy trash trucks. I'd like to see an ordinance come forward that deals with that, to limit the weight of a trash truck going up and down our alleyways. It's been creating enormous amount of damage. The Midtown area development, the thing we can do, I guess, for those areas that are historic in nature, we have developed a few tools, land bank. We have the Urban Homesteading Act program. It's not an act. But yeah, that is a couple of the tools we can use to revitalize some of these neighborhoods.
Another area of District 4 is Pear Street. And obviously, you know, but this is probably almost a year ago now that that family died on Pear Street. It is under the jurisdiction of MoDOT, so the City Council doesn't have anything to do with it. But what are your thoughts on Pear Street and what should be done with it?
MoDOT wants to turn Pear Street over to the city. City doesn't want it. I've spoken with a few of the staff members. It would create a huge expense to maintain Pear Street, and the ditch that caused those deaths was known, in my opinion, by no MoDOT. I personally called the individual in charge of that this northwest area, and he told me that it was under litigation and really couldn't comment on it, and they can't do any improvements because somewhere that that would indicate that they was at fault. The actual truth is they just don't want to fix it. There's legal language that allows for them to fix it without admitting fault. And I know several of the neighbors in that area wants those guardrails up. Now, had the guardrails been up, we don't know if it would have saved their lives. We don't know that. But I suspect it would have probably stopped that car from flipping. I just don't know that for a fact, but that's what I feel.
Being a lifelong firefighter, how would you improve the public safety departments in St. Joe?
Well, I think we need to give the tools to the fire and the police as needed. You know, I don't want to exclude the health department. They're part of public safety. And so they also need funding as well. But police and fire, they're the ones that, for the most part, have the equipment, the rolling stock, and I would like to see the funding made available so that they can do the jobs that they're hired to do.
What would you like to see that funding go towards, I guess, when it comes to public safety?
Well, you know, I'd almost have to defer to the two chiefs. They know better where the money should go in terms of to make them more effective. Quite honestly, I'd like to see the fire department get into the ambulance business. I think we should have been there a very long time ago, and quite honestly, several decades ago, we were. The firefighters did run the ambulance in St. Joseph at one time. Anyway, I think that, yes, it would be probably better for those two chiefs to make that decision. If we could fund them, I want to sit down with them, though, and ask them where the money would be spent.
You mentioned the Easttown Business Park, obviously in District 4. What steps would you take to entice companies to come to St. Joe?
Oh, I think economic incentives, Chapter 100s. I think that sales tax reimbursement is an economic incentive. I haven't fully bought into it. I don't think it's used very much. It was used one time for for over 10 years. And it's just fallen off, so it's expired. But TIFs, I'm not big on TIFs, but if they're used the right way and they don't extend out for a very long time periods of time, then yeah, TIF is another economic incentive.
You guys, this current council spent almost $19 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds. Second installment's coming up. What would you want to spend that next $19 million of American Rescue Plan Act money on?
Well, Quinn, this is going to sound a little greedy, but we did a big handout to many of the organizations around the city. And I think this time the city's going to have to take a look at its internal needs. That's fire trucks, police cars, and those are two big items that need to be replaced, and pretty expensive at that. To do a revolving purchase of police cars, for example, it's a very expensive proposition. They usually put, I think, more than 500,000 miles on those vehicles before they get rid of them. That's a lot. We don't do that with fire trucks, but those are two of the biggest things. And I know that there's a need for a brand new fire station in South End, which I would support that. If I think I'd rather have that on the CIP than using ARPA money for it. But personally, Quinn, I want to see $1 million to $1.5 million carved out and made available to small business. I would love to do that. I've already spoken with the city manager about that.
St. Joseph in the last 10 years has lost 5,000 people. What would be your strategy to grow back the population here in St. Joe?
Well, one of the tools, of course, is the urban homesteading program. I would love to see that become successful. It could bring back, I don't know if the full 5,000, but I think it could bring back a substantial number of people. Maybe when I say bring back, I mean bring into St. Joseph. Yeah. I don't know that that is left are looking to come back. I hope so, but maybe not. I think many times the youth move away. They go to a university elsewhere, and when they do, sometimes they don't come back either. And sadly, that's what happens with our youth. I would like to find a way to work with the university to allow for some incentives to keep the youth here.
Infrastructure is a pretty broad term. You can cover a wide swath here, but how would you improve, the infrastructure in District 4, but also throughout town?
Oh, well, the infrastructure includes, for the most part, it's streets, it's curbs, it's alleyways, it's sidewalks, it's sewer, and I can tell you right off the bat, with regard to sewer, I am not going to vote to sell the sewer system. I would never do that. I know there's been interest in buying our wastewater sewer, and I won't vote for that. Public utilities need to stay public. Now, we've already done, I believe, let me think about this, over 100 miles of street, just this council has done over 100 miles of street resurfacing and repair. I want to include the curbs. It makes no sense that the curbs aren't part of the streets. And our codes says otherwise, but I don't like it. And I would want to put forth an ordinance to look at that and see if we can get our curbs back into better condition. There is a good portion of District 4 that includes the parkway system. And the parkway system there's over 9 miles of parkway. It is one of the most amazing parkways in not just Missouri, but the entire United States. And it's an asset we need to take a look at and be proud of and keep it in good repair. And so I would want to, of course, take a look at that. That's all. You know, a lot of people don't think that noise is part of the parkway, but it is. Yeah. Noise boulevard.
Just kind of my last question here. What steps would you take if you were elected again to enhance the relationship between the county and the school district?
The county?
The county, yeah.
And the school district?
Yeah. With the city, the relationship between the city, county, and school district, yeah.
Okay. Well, quite honestly, and I don't like actually saying this, but I believe it to be true, is the poor performance of our school district that's holding back people. It may be one of the reasons that people has left. And our school district has not done a great job, and that's sad. It's too bad that they can't find a superintendent who can crack the whip, so to speak, and bring these, maybe that's the wrong term to use, but it's okay with me. I want to see them do better. The county, that's another political subdivision. We work pretty well with the county, as is. They work with us, and so I want to keep that relationship going. I do want to keep the relationship with the school district and make it better. I want us to be inclusive and have a better format whereby we can get some positive things done for this city. But one of the things, the Hilliard's Tech School, you know, that's pretty important. We do need to put our, create an education environment for those that really don't want to go on to university. Yeah. They want to, you know, they want a skill set, and you can get it out at Hilliard's. Yeah. That keeps people here too. And so I would support that greatly.
It's kind of all the questions I had. Is there anything else you wanted to say or add?
Yeah, there is.
What's that?
East of 36th Street, there are no alleyways. West of 36th Street, there's lots of alleyways. We need to improve our alleyways. I want to do that. I want to improve, I want to continue the shared expense for sidewalks, the guttering. And let me go back to the sewers. Yeah. And the alleyways rather. I've seen trash trucks, large trash trucks, crush our guttering, the curbside guttering, yeah, where the storm water is supposed to go down. I've seen them run over and crush them. I've seen them actually take out a fire hydrant, didn't even know they did it. And of course there's water all over the place at the time. That's about the only way they knew, but they're just too large. So I want to see something done about that. And I would support another vote for citywide trash service, but that's the only way I would support it. It had to be a citywide vote that would agree to it.